right, it's 5:30 Central Daylight Time right now on GGRB Online, 5:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. It is 4:30 Mountain Time and 3:30 in the Pacific. And I'm Gary J. Russ as we're wrapping up our Way Out There show. This is the conclusion to the show, wrapping up in our final few minutes here of our program. So we're going to, in this program, wrap up the show by giving you the rest of the Coast to Coast AM guest list, and give you also a preview of the guest tonight and who's going to be on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott tonight, right here on Spreaker and on on his many fine affiliates across America from the Spaced Out Radio website. So that's coming up next. We're going to do that. I want to find that first so I can get that ready. Let me see if I need to find that one here. Where's that Spaced Out Radio site? I think it's on the next one. Okay, we're going to pull that out. Spaced Out Radio. Here it is. I have to remember where that is. Okay. Let's continue then with the guest lineup from Coast to Coast AM here as we continue, as we wrap that up. We're on Monday night now as George Norrie gets back on the hosting chair with David Darling and Michael Fitzhugh Bell. First half of the show, David Darling will be the guest. A British astronomer and writer who will be discussing the latest news from outer space, as well as research on other dimensions and parallel worlds. So that's going to be a good show. That will be on Monday night. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be bringing back our Talk FM 108 signal on 107.9 and carrying some of these programs. So for local listeners can tune into that. Second half, Michael... and if you not, it'll be on WOC Talk Radio 1420, or you can go online, and there are many fine radio stations that pick up Coast to Coast AM. Second half of the show, and let's see if I'm pronouncing this guy's name right. Michael Fitzhugh Bell will update the story of being drugged, abducted, surgically implanted with a microchips. That's right. That's what happened. Instruments and also tools available for anyone on the internet, including criminal organizations like those which targeted him and people who recently contacted him with matching experiences. That'd be one interesting too. Holistic plastic surgery and weird news on Tuesday night. George Norrie will have Dr. Troy Young and Steve Alton on. First of all, Tony, not Troy, Tony Young will explain the difference between holistic plastic surgery and traditional plastic surgery, and how he believes it's a higher power can impact the practice of medicine. On the second half of that show, Steve Alton, a New York Times International bestseller author, 15 novels including the MEG series and the Domain series about the Mayan Doomsday Calendar. I thought we were past that. Anyway, he's going to discuss the latest research in cryptozoology and his commentary on the Navy UFO footage and news about Loch Ness Monster. That'd be good. Coming up over that, TBA and demonic possessions will be on Monday night. So there's going to be a show on demonic possessions, but also be one to be announced guest for the second half. So listen to that one on Wednesday night next week. On the second half of the show, spiritual warrior and exorcist Bill Bean will be discussing the latest demonic possession cases, and which was called into battle to get rid of the demonic force occupying individuals or houses. Bill also help people in over 40 different countries, and will address curses, blocks, and attachments that are all forms of demonic possession. So that's the first part of the show. Then there's a to be announced guest. Vaccine dangers on Coast to Coast and Coast to Coast investigates. Dr. Sherry, let me see if I can pronounce that. 10, as in the word, as the number 10. Dr. Sherry Tenpenny will be aboard, certified as a board certified on three specialties, and she'll discuss how other countries are pulling away from some vaccinations, while the United States is enforcing mandatory vaccination. She'll also update the specific evidence for HPV vaccinations and doing more harm than how it's doing more harm than good, and how fully vaccinated people are contacting measles and why. Coast to Coast AM then sends investigative reporters to research not only bizarre and anomalies, but also events, but specific environmental news. George will be introducing the newest member of the Coast to Coast AM team. So there's somebody starting up there. And finally, next Friday night, George Norrie will be back in his chair with Mike Muncy. Oh, why do I always do that? Mark Muncy, creator of Hellview Cemetery, a charity haunted house in Central Florida that was so infamous and it was banned by the city of St. Petersburg. So this might be a good one. Banned by the city of St. Petersburg. First half will discuss the strange and unusual locations in Florida, including the Green Swamp home of murders, monsters, and mysteries galore in Coral Castle, as well as tragedies and scandals. Part 2 will feature open lines. So that's a look at what's on Coast to Coast AM this week. Looks like a good line of guests. We have to listen to some of those. And I still listen to Coast. I love Coast to Coast AM, and I still listen to it, even though it's kind of a battle between that and Spaced Out Radio. But Spaced Out Radio is one of those shows that I can listen to anytime I want to, because the podcasts are free here on Spreaker. So I usually will listen to Coast some nights and just listen to Dave Scott later. Meanwhile, speaking of Dave Scott, let's go and see what we got coming up on his show tonight. His show, Dave Scott will have Richard Giordano. Hope I'm pronouncing that. Giordano. Anyway, he's filling in for Dave Scott. So, because Dave Scott, so he's got a guest host tonight. I hope I pronounced. I'll have to listen to it tonight to find out if I pronounced it right. And anyway, he's filling in for David Scott, because Dave Scott's going to Toronto on some kind of thing he's going on. So he's oh yeah, that's right. It's right in front of my face. Duh. Dave Scott going to Toronto for a Alien Cosmic Expo. So his guest is going to be Michael Horn. He's authorized American media representative for Billy Meyer, a reclusive man living in rugged rural area of Switzerland, who claims that his still ongoing UFO. Let's see if there's any continuation to that. Doesn't look like it. That's on tonight anyway. Something about UFO, but let me see if I can even get into that further. For some reason, it ends there, but I can't finish it. So, but anyway, it should be a good guest tonight. Anyway, Spaced Out Radio tonight, and Dave Scott will not be on his show tonight because he's in Toronto with that Cosmic Expo. But he's got a guest host coming in with a pretty good show. So tune in for that. Spaced Out Radio live tonight on Spreaker at 11:05 Central Daylight, 11:06 p.m. Central Daylight Time, 9:06 Pacific, and midnight 06 in the East tonight, right here on Spreaker. Also available on many fine places on TuneIn, including Revelation Radio and KZX. Where's that? Anyway, station out of Ridgecrest, California, classic rock station. and a few other fine radio stations across America, different areas. But you can listen to it on Spreaker, right here on Spreaker. Just get on my site there now. It's Dave Scott, and it's Spaced Out Radio. So you'll find it by going on my Spreaker public site, www.spreaker.com/user/15/5120 5120525, or get on my Twitter. I'm the Radio Maniac. You can get in there and go into where the show is. Click into this, say hi in the chat room. And by going into the chat room window, by clicking the comic book icon, and there you'll see the list of all my followers there. And one of them is, of course, this program's fabulous follower. You go down the followers list, you'll find Spaced Out Radio, and when you that's where you can listen and just follow it. If you're a Spreaker listener, just follow it, because it's a great station, a great program. Dave Scott does hard work in putting that show together, and it's always fabulous every time. We're going to be wrapping up straight at 6 o'clock, so I hope you'll stay with me for like about 19 more minutes. Because coming up next, right after we get done, of course, here on Spreaker, let me check that, make sure I'm right on that. MTFB, which is a great station on there, plays some great music. Zach Friller is on the air. He has a fabulous show, and let me see. I think on Fridays he's on later, if not later. He was already on. Happy, upbeat, cool, good tunes. So if you are a follower again on Spreaker, you could go into there. It's MTFB Radio, MTFB, which is Aviation Network. And when you get in there, you'll see a list of great episodes. There's a profile here of what MTFB is. They come out of Indiana, but they got various DJs in different parts of the country doing a live show. And Zach Friller's one of them. He's not as Zach Baroque, but he calls himself Zach Friller on the air. Plays some really good music. It's a happy, upbeat show. And it's coming up next here on Spreaker FM, our 9-foot closed circuit signal, right after we get done here. We got some great music from some great people, including Katrina and the Waves, and Walking on Sunshine, Eddie Money. He's going to play some Take Me Home Tonight. Brings some memories back of that. We've got Steve Winwood, John Travolta. So if you want to listen to this, it's on there. Foundation's got some good oldies too. And that is on the right here, right after we get done here on Spreaker FM. And of course, it's available on Spreaker, so you can listen to the podcast anytime you want to. That is Zach Friller on MTFB Radio. So stay tuned for that right here on Spreaker. Hey, tell you what we're going to do right now, though. We're going to get ready because we're going to be closing up the show. But before we do, I want to do a preview of what's coming up on the next Way Out There, and talk about what we got coming up tomorrow on the Gary Russin program, Saturday Extra. First of all, though, let's take a look at what we got coming up on the next Way Out There. I've been working on that program. I've got some got the continuation of the Technocracy series. We'll continue doing that one. I've got some more strange but true stories that I'm going to be bringing to you. Some of them I'm going to be updating from the last time I started writing it. But we'll be doing that. And by a guy that actually, and this was weird, I heard this last night on Dave Scott, and I got to talk about this thing, man. It's pretty weird. It's a guy that actually had a devil's horn growing out of his head. Really weird story. We got that coming up. Let me see. We got that. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that news. I think it's on here somewhere. Let's see here. So where's my news? Where's his news piece? Let me see if I find it. But anyway, there are other ones here. How about that? What'd you think about that? Oh, yeah, I saw that last night, or the other night, where my wife and I were watching it. America's Got Talent, a blind and autistic singer a pianist. If a guy is playing the piano, but he's blind and he's autistic, then Cody Lee, he won the America's Got Talent. Absolutely fabulous. Justin Trudeau is apologizing for saying he's sorry for dressing up in brownface and the turban at a talent show. Well, we'll be talking about that tomorrow. That one really... Anyway, we're going to talk about that one. And let's see. I don't know if I can find that story. I know I saved it on my Facebook, but it's a weird story. We'll be talking about that. Also got a few other stories we're going to talk about in our next Way Out There show. Also, we're going to have another edition. By the way, I want to make a mention. There's going to be some changes on this next episode of Way Out There, by the way. First off, the segment I'm doing on technocracy, I'm adding an extra half hour, 20 minutes to half hour on that segment. So we're going to that'll be the second, that'll pretty much take up the second hour of Way Out There. Because I want to get through that. So I'm going to add an additional segment onto that. So a full hour dedicated to technocracy on the second edition of Way Out There. And then we'll squeeze the rest of the segments of the last hour, including another short edition of Slapped Ham. We'll do that one. And on our Strange But True with Slapped Ham, and then we'll go into that one, and then we'll wrap it up with the second part of the Afterlife about that guy. As I mentioned, that one guy we played earlier, who was a college professor. He had died and went to hell, but he cried out the name of Jesus, and he was saved. And we're going to have part 2 on that story next week. And let's see. Also coming up next week, we'll wrap up with giving you the preview of the next episode of Coast to Coast AM and Spaced Out Radio. So that's what's coming up. I got to work on that. I got to refine the rundown of that next episode of Way Out There, so that we can present an additional segment to the, because I want to really get done with that. As I told you on the previous Way Out There that I played earlier, I changed a lot of that. I thought I was going to get done with that sooner, but since I didn't have a Way Out There since July, 2 months ago, there's going to be, I'm going to stay on with Way Out There till December. So I'm going to try to get at least as many Way Out There shows done before December. And then in December, around Thanksgiving, in around there, about November, I'd say about November. November, I should have the last Way Out There for the season wrapped up. And then we're going to go on hiatus with that show for a while. And then we'll start season 2 We'll start season 2 in 2020 with new episodes. So we're going to wrap up Way Out There, and it'll have stuff on that. And I'm working on some guests for the next couple of shows. One of them is going to be a woman who we're going to talk about. What's that? Astro Travel. I couldn't get it out. Astro Travel will be the topic. She was a guest on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, and she's willing to do a show with us. So I'm going to get a hold of them, and we will have a show on that coming up on a Way Out There. So tune in for that. Also coming up, guest spots. I'm going to see if we can get a hold of Dave Scott to be a guest on here, as well as Eric Cooper, and working on getting hold of JMD Board for another guest spot on this show. So some of the guests coming up on future editions of Way Out There here on GJRB Online. Meanwhile, tomorrow we'll be on the air 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. Now, I got a hold of Ben Osman this week, but he has been he's got a busy schedule. I mean, that guy's always constantly busy. He was going to be on the air with us tomorrow, but he is got a lot of stuff going on. So I don't know. I think we're going to have to put him on hiatus for a while. See what happens after the first of the year. I'll keep getting a hold of him and let him know. See you next time he's free. Mainly because I'm doing this show tomorrow because, as I told you earlier, Iowa Hawkeyes announcer Gary Dolphin mentioned that the Hawkeyes are on a bye week this week. They will be back on, and I'm gonna say, let me see if I can get the Iowa Hawkeyes back on. Let's type in that. I'm gonna go into my Google here for a minute and pull that up real quick. Next Iowa Hawkeye game. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna pop that up. Next Iowa Hawkeye game. Next Iowa Hawkeye game is a Big Ten West game against Middle Tennessee, and that will be on ESPN2. That game is scheduled to air on Saturday, September 28th at 11 a.m. Saturday, September 28th at 11 a.m. So that will be a week from this coming Saturday. So the Iowa Hawkeyes are on a bye week. So we are going to have the Gary Rustin program Saturday Extra on tomorrow, live 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time, 2 o'clock Mountain, and 1 o'clock Pacific tomorrow, right here on Spreaker, GGRB Online, 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time, and 3 o'clock, and of course 4 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on GGRB Online. We'll be doing the Gary Rustin program Saturday Extra. And it's going to be a wide variety type of show. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of some guys, maybe even Ed Delgado, hopefully maybe. If maybe even perhaps Blake Myers. We'll get a hold of one of those two for a guest spot tomorrow, maybe see what happens there. Otherwise, I'm going to do a straight show, news, comment, recap of this week's news events. I'll be going through some of the stuff we're going to do tomorrow. Play some music along the way, too. It'll be kind of a fun show. So it'll be a Saturday edition of the Gary Rustin program, Saturday Extra tomorrow, 3 o'clock Central, right here on GGRB Online. Live show and some fun stuff, maybe an interesting guest or two. You just never know what's going to happen tomorrow on the Gary Rustin program, Saturday Extra. And that's because, like I said, the Hawkeyes play the following Saturday. And maybe I'll try to be on maybe the following Saturday. Who knows? Just never know what's going to happen here on GGRB Online. Spontaneous broadcasting at its best as I schedule that puzzle and piece that schedule puzzle together right here on GGRB Online to get the program schedule puzzle together and get programming set up where we have more than one episode of shows as well. But I'm going to have we'll see what happens tomorrow. So tune in 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time for the Gary Rustin program Saturday Extra. And we'll talk a lot about what's going on in the news and stuff. And meanwhile, back to the jungle, we're going to talk about this tomorrow because I think this is an interesting one. I got about 20 minutes left, a little over 20. So I thought we'll just kind of use that up. Well, why not? Some of the things we're going to talk about tomorrow, it looks like the Patriots already cut Antonio Brown. Yeah, Antonio Brown just isn't getting much luck. Latest allegations against him he had contacted a woman who made an anonymous allegation of sexual being improper again. He did this, and this is hurting him in the sports world. According to a Sports Illustrated story, New England Patriots had released him. Brown effectively broke the news himself on Twitter, writing, "Thanks for the opportunity, Patriots." A couple of minutes later, NFL Network confirmed that move. The Patriots released a brief statement stating that the New England Patriots had released Antonio Brown. We appreciate the hard work of many people over the past 11 days, but we feel that it's best to move in a different direction at this time. So Antonio Brown has been a football reject lately. So we're going to talk about that one. Also, the latest news we were talking about earlier, there was a active shooter in Washington, D.C. That was yesterday. According to a report, a person killed and 5 others wounded Thursday in a shooting on the streets of Washington, D.C., not far from the White House, according to the police there. Police have not apprehended the suspect as of late, but they do not know the motive for that shooting. Metropolitan Police Commander, according to the Metropolitan Police Commander Stuart Emerman, he said that it is not active shooter. He said that it is not an active shooter situation. Detectives are interviewing the witnesses and looking for camera footage. There are 5 wounded victims in that shooting. 2 were considered critical, and other injuries range from serious to minor, but all are expected to survive their injuries. All the victims were adults. The gunfire erupted at the Columbia Heights neighborhood about 2 miles from the White House on Thursday night at about 10 p.m. Eastern Time. It happened outdoors in the courtyard in an apartment building. ABC affiliate WJLA posted images on Twitter of ambulances carrying victims in the scene and said that some have been a massive police response at the intersection of 14th Street and Columbia Road. So that's some of the stories we'll be talking about. What do you think about that? Another more shooting in Washington, D.C. To wonder about that one. We're going to talk about that tomorrow on the Gary Russin program, Saturday Extra. So it's going to be a pretty good show all along. I think you'll be looking forward to that. We got some really neat guests. We'll try to see if we can line up those guests. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a freestyle show, a combination of talk and music. I'll do 50 minutes of nonstop talk and music in the second hour, and or 45 minutes. I'm going to say 45 for now until I get the upgrade. But for now, it's 45 minutes of nonstop talk and music in the second hour. In the second hour, 45 minutes of nonstop talk and music. So I hope you'll tune in for that broadcast. It's going to be pretty good. We got some good stuff coming up on that show. So tune in for that. That's tomorrow, the Gary Russin program, Saturday Extra, live right here on Spreaker, on GJRB Online. And it will be a good show. We'll have some interesting things to talk about. I'll do my scroll through social media. I always enjoy doing that. We'll do our Spreaker shout-outs and promote some more of my fabulous Spreaker followers and different things. So it's going to be a good show tomorrow. And I hope you'll tune in live at 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time for the Gary Russin program. Saturday Extra right here on GJRB Online. So I was going to talk a little longer, but I think I'm just going to close it out and close up the show for today. So that's doing it. That is going to do it for the GJRB for the Way Out There show encore presentation from our July 19th 2019 show 2 months ago almost. And we'll, when the show doesn't air for 2 months, sometimes it bugs me. It really does. But we will be back on the air for another Way Out There in October with more episodes coming up. I'm going to be writing some back-to-back and getting ready for some, so I have episode 109 and 110, and be continuing working on those shows to get them on the air. So I'm working on those next for the next 2 episodes of that show. And we'll be doing those in the regular episode. I'd say 109 will air in the anytime in October, anytime in October. Never know when we're going to air it. That's going to be a spontaneous broadcast any day. And then then episode 110 will air, and it's in the third week of the month. So we'll have 2 episodes going back to back on that. So tune in for that. That'd be pretty cool. We'll see how more and more of those we can do. Okay. That's going to wrap it up for that. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow for the Gary Russell program, Saturday Extra, 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. Until then, you have your best night ever. So long, everyone. This is the GJRB Online Network.